Allah Ta'ala in Surah Asr says that in relation to the understanding of time, men are remiss. Except those who do good and who encourage others to do also good and show patience. I would like to talk to you about time. Do we really know the value of time? Anything which we think we have, our health, if we get sick, if Allah Ta'ala so wishes, and if we go to the doctor and we take care of ourselves, we regain our health. If we lose our jobs, if we try, we can regain our jobs. If we lose our house, if we try, we can regain our house. Practically everything which we lose, we are able to get it back, except that minute which has passed. No matter how hard we try, if we would pay $1 million for it, that 1 minute we cannot gain it back. Each and every one of us, we have been allocated a certain number of breaths. Some for 20 years, some for 60 years, some were 80 or 90, like this fakir here. But one day will come, certainly these number of breaths we will inhale and we will not be able to exhale. Yet, these breaths we spend as if there is no end to it, as if the time will never run out of us. We look around ourselves. Where are our grandparents? Where are our parents? Where are our friends in our age? They have all spent their breaths. In spite of that, clearly, we do not realize that time is the most important, the greatest, the most valuable gift which Allah Ta'ala has given to His creation, to the humankind. We are thankful for somebody who gives us a hat. We are not thankful of somebody who gave us the head to put the hat on. We are thankful for somebody who gives a shoe, and we are not thankful for the one who gave us at the foot to put our shoe in. But the worst of thanklessness is to throw the time away. The Muslims, they do not realize that the foundation of Islam is really the time. Think that Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran Al-Kareem that He has divided the year, the time, into years, and the year into seasons, and into months, and into weeks, into days, into hours, into minutes. And the day He has divided for us into 5 equal sections, during which time we hear the adhan and we make our prayers. Why did Allah Ta'ala ordered us Muslims and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam at 5 specific times during the year, during the day, to make our prayer? Why is it divided like that? And we go through the movements of it, not all of us, but hopefully most of us. We go through the movement. When the time of prayer comes, we go, we stand up, we bend, we go into sajda, and so many rakats at such and such time, we do it. Is that what ibadat means? From the time of Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, the first prophet, to the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the last and the seal of prophethood, people did make ibadat. Did they make ibadat the way we do it? So does ibadat mean simply the way we do the salat? What does ibadat mean? Ibadat is understanding. Ibadat is understanding what things are, who you are, and who Allah Ta'ala is, and it is the relationship, the reminiscence, the recognition, the dhikr, the remembrance of the created, of the Creator. To understand, that is what ibadat is. And to understand, Allah Ta'ala also has given us a speech. Speech is ibadat. That is why most people think that sohbet, which we are doing now, is much more important than any kind of ibadat which we do during the day. So understanding what? Hazrat Ibn Arabi, Qudusat al-Rah al-Fattahi, said that his sheikh told him that the meaning of the hadith when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, make your accounting before you have to make it, is the meaning of dividing the day into 5 times of prayer. And his sheikh said to Hazrat Ibn Arabi, that the way that one should do one's prayers is that before you start doing your noon prayer, that you are to sit down, make an accounting of what you have done between the morning prayer and the noon prayer, and between noon prayer and the afternoon prayer, and between the afternoon prayer till the Maghrib, and between Maghrib till the night prayer, and from the night prayer till the morning prayer. In short, the day is divided into 5 shorter sections. When the alarm clock of the adhan comes up, that Allah is greater, that you are supposed to sit down and think, what have I done during those few hours between 2 prayers? So you see, it is the understanding of your state, and it is the understanding of your actions, and then, if I have done something right, to be thankful to Allah Ta'ala. If I have done something wrong, is to ask repentance from Allah Ta'ala during the prayer. So the prayer is the moment of thankfulness of one's good deeds and the regret of one's wrongdoing. Division of day into 5. Then Allah Ta'ala has made the crowning of the week the Friday. What is the meaning of the Friday? Now we see from the days we are going to the weeks. Friday is a specific day. Friday prayer is a specific hour. What is called, what is the Friday prayer? Jama'ah is the unification, is the togetherness of the Muslims or of the humankind, or the unification of the individual within himself. It is the comprehension of the unity of things, of the unity of Ummah Muhammad, of the unity of the humankind. That is the meaning of Friday. But what do we do in Friday? We come there, we hardly listen to the khutbah, and then huppah, like Hazrat Mevlana says, like a chicken eating corn, we go up and down, and we go home. But that obviously is not the meaning of the Friday. Then the months. Allah Ta'ala, of the 12 months, He has blessed certain months. Rajab, Shaban, Ramadan, Muharram, each of them has specific days inside, and specific things has to be done during that. And He has crowned the year with the time of Hajj. Again, what is the Hajj? Hajj is the reminiscence of the day of Yawm-ud-Din, of the day of Last Judgment. The absence of identity, that you are nothing and nobody, you have become a hitch, nothing. And then everybody gathers. Is the reminiscence of the Arsh, where the Malaika is surrounding, running around, circumambulating the Arsh, and all these people in the shrouds, they are circumambulating the Kaaba. And it is also likened that man's life is divided into 4 seasons. That perhaps is the most important of it. From the time that a child is conceived, not the child is born, when the child is in a state of a blood clot in the mother's belly, that is the beginning of life. From that moment till the age of 20 is likened to the season of spring. That is the time of growth. That is the time of physical, intellectual, moral, spiritual growth of a new human being. But the education, the growth of the human being starts, as I said, before even the birth. So does the education also. Often enough people ignore that. But even the modern science accepts now that the child is susceptible of the environment, of the sound, and of the state of the mother, and the relationship of the mother and other people that affects the education of the child. But the growth, both physical, intellectual, and spiritual, like the growth of a plant, it necessitates certain conditions. It necessitates fertile ground. It necessitates water. It necessitates light. And it necessitates care. Who is to give these conditions to the child? For instance, in this country in which we live now, do you think the ground is fertile for the growth of our children? When you look around, when you look at the society in which we are, even when you look at the economic conditions, which many people have come to America for, it is not really favorable. But then a plant does not really depend on the climate which is 500 or 1,000 miles away. A plant depends on the environment which is right close around it. So no matter what the conditions are in this country, in this city, in this village, what is most important for the beneficial growth of our children is the family. And we are fortunate also to have this dergah here. So the family, the community, if we are careful, and if we were talking about earlier today, is sufficient for the well-growing of our children. So then, from the age 0 to the age 20, I said it is the season of spring, that the human being grows. And for the time being, he is non-productive. In fact, he consumes and does not produce. Many people in America, they make their children to go and distribute newspapers and work as waitresses and this and that kind of a thing. I am not so very sure. In fact, my wife always somehow reproached me that I didn't want our children to do those things, unless they are doing this as experience, but not for making money or anything, unless to see what is happening around them. In that case, it's okay. But to make them get used to make money or something, this is not okay. Then from the age of 20 to the age of 40 is the age of maturity, is the age of action, is the age of productivity, not only produce things, but also produce children. This is the age which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, get married and have children so that I will be proud of you. This is the age of action, productivity, and decision. How am I going to live this life? Am I going to live this life by eating, drinking, going to the bathroom and having fun? Or am I going to live this life as Allah Ta'ala has meant human being to live this life? In short, seek what I am here for and do the best I can to fulfill this function where I am here for. This is the age of summer, of productivity, of giving fruits, of time of harvest, which you have planted in your childhood and youth. Now you are harvesting it. Now from the age of 40 to the age of 60, it is said it is like autumn. It is the age of wisdom. That during the 40 years, with the education, with the perception, with the understanding of one's environment and of oneself, one has acquired certain knowledge. It is the age of irshad. It is the age when men and women are supposed to teach the ones who are before them. In fact, the people of the summer, the active people, correct their wrongs in their actions, correct their intentions and their decisions. And that is why, for instance, that the people in the ideal situation in the government would be from the age of 40 to 60. In a true hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he likens his period, when he was alive and together with the Ashab Kiram and Ansari Kiram, of the time of Asr, of the time of the afternoon. So at the time precisely of autumn. And now, like Sheikh Gailani and this fakir here, and many of us who are over the 60, It is winter. It is winter, like he himself said today. It is the time of making one's accounting. What have I done with my life? It is the time, in a sense, of selfishness, of making one's last-minute accounting. Have I done right? Have I done wrong? And it is the last occasion of tawbah before one leaves this world. But it is also the time that the one who has truly grown and followed the path of true Islam from birth till that winter, to become an example to the rest of the humankind. Do we realize that? No, we don't. The proof is, some of us, we are 60 and 70, we are pretending to be 20. Or we are 40, in the time of wisdom, we pretend to be young kids. And worse still, some young kids, that happens very rarely, but also they play as if they are old murshids. In short, we are all confused. We don't value our time. We don't have any understanding of our time. And we spend our time heedlessly. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam says precisely that one will wake up on the Tanashir. When we will be dead and we are being washed, then we will wake up and we will realize that we have passed our life in vain. Time is the most valuable thing. Do not throw it away. It doesn't mean that you cannot have rests. It doesn't mean that you cannot have amusements. It doesn't mean that you cannot have vacations. But what is most important is to understand and to regret when the time has spent, thrown away, of no value whatsoever. That you have passed the time without observing anything, without seeing anything, without learning anything. Remember that story which I told you, actually it's not a story, it's a hadith. A man was sitting with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Israel alayhi salam entered and he pointed at the man that he had only 1 hour to live. And the man asked Rasulullah, what should I do with that time? And Rasulullah said, learn. The most important thing to do with one's life is to learn. Learning is not only done by books. In fact, it is the least kind of learning. Because it is ilm al-yaqeen. It's a hearsay. I mean, you can read about Istanbul from the best books you want, but your knowledge of Istanbul is really almost zero unless you go and see Istanbul yourself. Then it becomes ayn al-yaqeen. With your own eyes, you have seen something, you have experienced something. So I think the most important thing to do with one's life is really to experience. And one can experience anything. It doesn't have to be very important, it doesn't supposed to be very valuable, and it is not something which you can sell. Any old tiny thing, if you can just look at the red or almost red, brick red of this carpet and somehow figure it out really what is that color. And if you have got the capacity to think, how can I reproduce that color? Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, it is not really studying books or going to the university. It's just observing things and learning from the things which you see, trying to understand the things which you see, trying to understand the things which you hear, trying to understand the things which you taste, trying to understand things which you touch. This is what learning is. And that's what the time should be spent on. Salaam alaikum. Last week, I talked about culture. Now, I wanted our kids to go and see operas. I wanted our kids to go and see exhibitions. Now, this is sort of a whole lump of observation, already prepared for you. It is like as if eating an onion and a tomato and a cucumber, and then almost eating it in a salad. Do you understand what I mean? There are some preparations which the cultures have prepared. Beautiful buildings and monuments and exhibitions and concerts and this and that. So instead of just at the same amount of time, instead of seeing one thing, you see 1,000 things. And that's why I want my children to do that, and that's why I want you to do that too. There is no limit to knowledge, and we are here to learn. That's what life is all about. Life is to learn. And some think that if we only know our religion, which nobody really does, there are half of the Qurans who know all that. There are masters of who has really studied the Quran, and I don't think anybody can come and claim that really truly they know the Quran al-Karim. And nobody can come and say that really truly they know our religion. But I think the truth of our religion is not really in knowing all the hadiths and all the meaning of the Quran al-Karim and all the rules of the Sharia. I think that it is really a feeling of decency, a feeling of the adab al-Muhammadi, to live like a human being, with the example of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That suffices. But then you have to marry that knowledge of our religion with also the knowledge of the universe within which we live. And some say that is what Ilm al-Ladun is. The combination of the spiritual knowledge and of the temporal knowledge, of the knowledge of the world. But I don't have any time. I have to get up early in the morning. Amber tells me, in the darkness, and I come home in the darkness. There is no time. But there is time. There are lots of things one can observe during these tedious things which one does during the day. If you do what you do consciously, heedfully, even when you sit down and get up from the position of sitting up, there is something to learn from it. There is something to learn about your muscles, there is something to learn about the effort, there is always something to learn. But don't you realize that it is not really the absence of time, it is the absence of attention which is maleficent. Because time there is plenty. Because we feel that the things which we do is boring. But why do we think that it is boring? Years ago, not a Muslim teacher, so this fatigue, the business of I get tired, it is tedious, it's awful. my life is terrible, I have to do and this, and, and years ago I was young and I complained to him about this state, that I was tired and fed up with the things which I am doing. He said something very interesting to me which I will never forget. He said, try to do them without minding it, without resenting it, and knowing what you are doing. Knowing what you are doing and not resenting it. And really I applied it and I didn't feel tired. And I felt all the stupid things which I was doing very, very interesting. Are you following what I'm saying? And that's one of the truths which I have learned in life from this teacher which I admire. Not a Muslim, not a Muslim. May Allah be pleased with him. He's passed away. May Allah forgive his sin. Do what you do, knowing what you are doing, no matter how tedious and how nothing it is, without minding it. Then it becomes enjoyable and you don't get tired of it. And you profit from it. Ya Hafiz, remember.
Baba, would you say that punctuality and discipline will get back us in time?
Well, it's a part of it, punctuality, which we lack totally.
And discipline.
I mean, as Muslims, right, there is a specific time which is Muslim time. You say that I'm going to see you at 1 o'clock and at 4 o'clock you're not there. Now, of course, punctuality is a very valuing time.
And discipline.
And discipline, definitely so. Definitely so.
So if we follow these two guidelines, we'll get back in time.
But all this is really a question of decision. Precisely the question of decision is the age, between 20 to 40. That what have we decided to do? And look, that's why I'm talking to this Ikhwan, because most of us now supposedly we are at the age of wisdom. And we are all certainly, most of us, over 40, between 40 and 60. And that we should really be wise, and know what we are doing, and be aware, and be conscious, and be heedful. Yeah, Rasulullah says, men are asleep and they will wake up when they die, and that will be too late.
Wait.
Koluna gir, koluna. Allah Ta'ala is the giver, Allah Ta'ala is the taker. None of us, we have got the right to question why things are so. Why is it that it is my mother dies while other people's mothers are alive? Why is it that I get sick while other people are not sick? Why is it that in the history of religion that the best people suffer most? Think of the history of the prophets. Namrud threw Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam into the fire. Pharaoh chased Hazrat Musa alayhi salam and tried to drown him in the Red Sea, and he got drowned himself. And they tried to crucify Jesus alayhi salam, broke the teeth of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And why shouldn't I be sick? Why shouldn't I have my legs broken? While the ones whom he loved most suffer much more than I do. Maybe there is a mystery there. Maybe he just tests the ones whom he loves most. Test whether you are going to say خيره وشره من الله تعالى, that I accept whether khair or shar comes is equal to me. And maybe if you are able to do that, maybe he will lift the shar and turn it into khair. Hasbunallah ve ni'mel vekil diyor. Allah is my best helper. Ya Safiye bacı. İşte böyle. Hiç meyhanedeki, kumarhanedeki kullarına oh, ye diyor, iç diyor, ne halt edersen et diyor, keyfine bak sen. Ama efendim öyle derdi. Şeytanın ne işi var meyhanede, kerhanede? Onun işi camilerde derdi. Orada aldatacak kimse yok. Hepsi nasıl olsa aldatılmış.